where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Man, it is a beautiful Saturday morning right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and you're tuned into 1FM 98.9. This is another edition of Inside the News on Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's just 5 minutes past the hour of 11, so we are going to get this program started right now. All right, good morning again, and thank you so much for joining me on Inside the News today, right here on 1FM 98.9. Today is Saturday, July 23rd, 2022, and I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Good morning to those of you who have joined us in Radio Land. Of course, those of you joining and listening, viewing via the internet, our social media handles, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining the program today. Of course, we will be looking at some of the recent events that took place throughout this week. The week, according to my calendar, let me just be sure here, because for some reason, I'm losing track of the days now. The days are going by so fast. I mean, we have Culturama happening right now, and of course, in 13 days' time, we have a general election here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we're looking at some of the events throughout this week from the 18th until today, July 23rd. Now, before we get into the program, I just want to use this opportunity to congratulate the winner of the Junior Kaiso Monarch in the Nevis Culturama Festival, and her singing name is Princess Navea. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but it says Princess Navea. So congratulations to Princess Navea on being named the Junior Kaiso Monarch for 2022, and the first runner-up, her song was entitled I'm Confused. The first runner-up was Princess Kali with 48, and after that we had Mighty J with Keep Pushing. So congratulations to the Nevis Culturama Secretariat and the committee for the staging of yet another successful Junior Kaiso Monarch. Of course, we have happening right now on Nevis, the Empire Sports Club Aquatic Extravaganza from 11 a.m. right up until 11 p.m. And of course, that event features swimming races. We have bands. It's like a mini food fair right there on the Charlestown waterfront. A number of people would come from St. Kitts to attend this event. I think they normally do it in here in St. Kitts as well. Swimming races, food, drink, music, a bunch of activities they usually have there. So Culturama is in full swing, and a number of things are happening on Nevis today. I think tonight they're having an event called Free Flex with a number of local bands and artists, and of course some regional artists. I think Burning Flames will be there as well. So a lot is happening on Nevis. So I'm using this opportunity to encourage each and every one of you to head on over to Nevis to experience Culturama. We are back after basically a 2-year hiatus. I think last year there was something more scaled back, but right now Culturama is in full swing. All of the activities are outdoor after 2 years of basically a lockdown from Culturama because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as I said earlier, I want to get into some of the things that made the headlines throughout the course of the week, or the latter part of the week, which has been on the minds of many people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, I mentioned earlier, we have a general elections coming up in about 13 days, and I want to use this opportunity to encourage you to visit our page, our elections page, which is www.winmediaskn/elections. So check out our page and you will get the latest in what's happening in the St. Kitts Nevis politics. On our page, of course, you'll see we have our candidates, the candidates that will be participating. Let me not say our candidates. Coming across like it's one of them candidates. But the candidates that will be participating in the general elections, and we also have the 2020 results as well as the 2015 results. On that page, you will find a statement by the supervisor of elections just providing an update on the polling stations, polling clerks, the returning officers, and all that you need to know for the upcoming elections. Of course, we have the latest news and stories, articles on the elections and the different activities from the different parties, what they're doing, what is happening in their campaign, and what can we expect from them over the next few days. According to our clock, is 12 days, 20 hours, 49 minutes, and 27 seconds until the 2022 general election. Now, there was a projection given by regional pollster, political scientist Peter Wickham, that has garnered a lot of feedback in the public's domain, particularly on social media. A number of people have been responding to what Mr. Wickham says may happen in the upcoming general elections. Basically, he is giving his projection on what the outcome may be in this election. And of course, people have been responding to this projection. Some are in agreement with what Mr. Wickham said. Others are not in agreement with what Mr. Wickham said. Of course, there will be mixed views and mixed opinions on this. But the response generally, or the response from the general public, has been, let me say for the most part, intriguing, interesting. And for those of you who follow social media, I think most of you have been following not just what Mr. Wickham has been saying, but the response from the general public. Now, Win FM, we reached out to the political parties here in St. Kitts to get their response to Mr. Wickham's projection and what they feel or how they feel about their view, their opinion on what Mr. Wickham said. Now, before we get into that, this is what Mr. Wickham said. He basically shared his outlook on the upcoming St. Kitts Nevis general election. This article was written by our very own Yolanda Weeks. It says regional pollster and political analyst Peter Wickham has outlined his observations for the upcoming St. Kitts Nevis general elections, describing it as a very complex political scenario. And he was speaking on an ABS television interview on Tuesday night, that's July 19th. Wickham shared his perspective on the campaign process in St. Kitts and Nevis, where for the first time, 3 political parties in St. Kitts will be running a full slate of candidates. For the very first time, all the parties, the 3 parties, that is, will be running a full slate of candidates. Wickham said, I think it got to a stage where it's really about whether or not Kittitians and Nevisians are comfortable with the idea of a new party, with the PLP, that's the People's Labour Party, or whether they are ready to return to Labour, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. I think that's really what it's come down to. I think that there's a huge change in terms of shift, in terms of politics. I mean, their politics was PAM versus Labour. There's a new player in the field, and I think the PLP started out definitely at a disadvantage. But certainly we've had a campaign in which they have gained considerable momentum. Now, the thing is whether the momentum will be enough for them to displace the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, which would be the oldest institution that's in the race, and whether or not people would be ready to go to the People's Action Movement, which has historically been less popular in the scheme of things. Those are the words of Peter Wickham, regional pollster and political analyst. Wickham added, I really don't know that on the eve of the election, now that we know a date, that I'm any more convinced more than ever. The only thing I seem to be pretty sure of is that the People's Action Movement is not really figuring significantly in this election, and people are moving more in the direction of the PLP. But the question is, would they move enough in that direction for the PLP to be able to win by that time? That is coming from Mr. Wickham. He said, Wickham predicts that the race to governance will most likely be between the Labour parties. I think it's Nevis Labour Party and the People's Labour Party. Of course, this has prompted responses from a lot of people, including the political parties. It's 17 minutes past the hour of 11, and you're tuned into Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. We'll take this break to acknowledge our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll continue Inside the News. Let's take this break, and we'll be right back.
Found the sound 98.9.
People make the world go round. If you need protection, you need one who you can trust to secure your investment. You need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us. TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. You're always safe with us.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Welcome back to Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining the program today. It is 19 minutes past the hour of 11 and we are continuing the program. Good morning again and thank you so much for joining those of you who have joined via social media and of course those of you in Radio Land. This is Inside the News and we are taking a look at the recent events during this week. Of course, the lead up to the St. Kitts Nevis general elections and some of the projections that have been given. Well, the projection rather that has been given by regional pollster and political analyst Peter Wickham. He is giving his projection on the upcoming St. Kitts Nevis general elections and what he feel may happen. Wickham has said that this is an election between the People's Labour Party and the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, but that is left to be seen. That is left to be seen. On the day of the election, about 13 days, 20 hours away, 12 days, 20 hours away, we're going to see what is going to happen and where the people of St. Kitts and Nevis will put their trust and confidence. Will it be, as Mr. Wickham said, or are we going to go in a different direction? If I may continue with the article, he said, I think the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party is in pole position. I think that's what we would say. The Labour Party started out in pole position, and the question is whether or not the PLP has gained enough momentum to be able to displace them. But I think the Labour Party still has a very good chance of winning the next election, and I think it's really likely to be the Labour Party or alternatively the PLP. Well, I suspect that Pam won't be the victor in this instance. This is coming from regional pollster Peter Wickham. He is giving his take on the election. The article further reads, after a public spat which led to the dissolution of the Team Unity Partners and a motion of no confidence filed against the leadership of Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, the St. Kitts Nevis was forced into another election cycle in a span of just about 2 years. The country has been in campaign mode for several months as citizens debate issues relating to fair share of the citizenship by investment funds, term limits for the Prime Minister, the Peace Program, as well as the PAP Program, amongst others. Discussions from the general public have also been centered around who will be the best person to lead the country. We've been hearing about who has the most experience, who is inexperienced, who is this, who is that, but it's only left to be seen what is going to happen on the day of the election. And this election is in the hands of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, wherever they want to go. But people are just giving their take and their opinion on the election. We have some callers coming in, so we're going to head to the phone lines and hear from the callers what they think about Mr. Wickham's projections. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. Call us back at 466-0989, 762-0989, 662-0989. Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Pleasant morning, Mr. Cornelius. Hope all is good with you, man.
I'm good, thanks. Could you turn off the radio? There's some feedback.
Sorry. Let me go it off. No, Mr. Wickham definitely have part of the equation correct. In that the race is between PLP and Labour. The race is between the two Labour parties. Miss Pam is definitely out of it. All right? So, at least that part is straight. Now, with regards to Labour, I believe now Labour have done their own survey and have realized that PLP really rubbing them hard. Like Mr. Wickham said, he don't know if this swing can be hard enough. I think support. But the way that Labour have now come out swinging with their campaign, the old time, they brought back up the old time machine. So to me, they have realized that, boy, they rubbing us a little too hard. And I said this, and I had reason to talk about it earlier in the campaign this week, where there was on a program, and I really felt disappointed in the two gentlemen from Labour that went down a sort of, what I call nasty road, or old-time road, where if you realize the new candidates, each of them, well, most of them I shouldn't say each of them, most of them have decided that they're not going down that sort of derogatory, character assassination road, more female now. I heard Miss Brandy say yesterday that it's 7 females now in the whole race, totally in the federation,
yes.
which is very, very good.
Yeah, that's true.
So what I'm saying is this tone has changed. People now expect a different behavior. And so with regards to the code of conduct, I would like to say the people, the organizations, that presented the code, initiated the code, I don't believe it's just good enough for them to just get all the parties to put a signature on it and leave it there. I personally believe they should be monitoring it, calling out those people, the perpetrators, them whenever they violate, and let everybody see them for that. The abusing, the hoisting up a fucking all kind of thing started way back in March, and it had continued. It reached a point that people started throwing foul now when one of the new party did it in a sort of way. And then from that, you could see something was done about it. The tone went back down. Until this week, to senior farmer politicians disappointed a lot of us when they went back and dragged back out the old rat out of the hole. You know what I'm saying? It is not nice. What I'm saying is we don't have to go to that level to get to win a political election. We are trying to get away from that sort of thing, you know? And then they vilify Mr. Williams in number 5, talking about Social Security. But let me say this. If Social Security have to publish the names of some of them big companies that owe Social Security hundreds of thousands of dollars, I mean, they can quite foul. But would it be fair? You can, I don't know if it's true if the gentleman owes them Social Security figures what they call in, or if he owes Social Security at all. What I'm saying is we don't need to do them kind of thing. We could deal with the issue. You don't need to vilify people to support your party. Yes, it is done, but that is the exact behavior we're trying to get away from. If we start to name out some of them companies, and some of those individuals may very well have shares in some of those companies that they get a dividend from annually, they're going to acquire all kind of foul. So it is not nice. What I'm saying is let us get away from that. And then the other, and like I said, I'm going to go into detail and so on today. But the other individual now went as far as, and I've seen the man who I've had so much respect for all my life. I look up to this guy. And I feel a call today because I'm so ashamed. I saw him briefly yesterday when he was on his way to the station, but I couldn't get to talk to him. I respect him. And then he went on to talk about people's sexual, predatory nature. I mean, what if we start to talk about that? All the parties having people like that we could talk about. All the parties having people and supporters that we could talk about in terms of oil Social Security. I mean, what about when you start to talk about people's sexual preference? That is a whole dirty game that we really, really don't want to get down. So I'm saying the Labour Party should not stoop to that level. If it is against Labour and Labour, let me rub it clean and fair. Well, it ain't going to be totally clean. But let me don't go down that dirty cesspool. I don't think we need to. And I'm calling on not the people them say initiate the code of conduct. Because they can't come tell nobody nothing else again but the code of conduct. But individual parties could do their own monitoring. And especially the ladies who is faring very well in this election. Don't condone them old-time men deal with them kind of things, our strategy. Ladies, you all know that is why a lot of women stayed out for years out of this kind of divisiveness. Condone them. Even if they're in your party, say, hey, brother, let me don't go down that road. You understand? Mr. Cornelius, I have so much, but I will leave it here. Today, give somebody else a good do. But I'm just appealing to the parties them. And let me say this too before I go. PLP all the way. There is no way we're going back to Douglas sitting in Labour. So I don't care how much new people they bring on show in there. With Douglas sitting in there, that is the biggest baggage they're dragging around. And like I said last week, they come say they're selling us fresh bread and a old donkey cart behind the smelly with feces. We're not having that. They should have gotten rid of him long time ago. So it's too late for them now. PLP is going to give them a shock of their life.
All right,
so
caller.
Just have a good day. Thanks for hearing me out, brother.
All right, thank you for your contribution to this program. This is Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. It is 11:29. We'll take a break shortly to give a shout out to our sponsors. And when we come back, we'll continue Inside the News right here. For those of you who are just joining the program, we are looking at the projection given by Mr. Peter Wickham, him commenting on the election and basically saying what he think the outcome may be in the upcoming St. Kitts Nevis general elections. We'll take a break now to give a shout out to our sponsors. When we come back, we'll keep the program going. Let's take this break.
Yes?
Jean,
Body spray's hot, boy. I can't take it.
well, it's a good thing I called. The TDC Home and Building Depots are having their Cool 'em Down sale with 20% discount on fans, AC units, coolers, fridges, and more to beat this heat, girl.
Girl, Betty, you're making joke.
No, so stop sweating and let's go to the store now.
Ooh, you come pick me up, because may want to miss the sale at TDC Home and Building Depot.
Yeah, man. And don't forget you can also shop online too, using shoptdcgroup.com.
Cool.
Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who in WinFM's considered opinion is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air. Welcome back to Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius. It's 11:32. Thank you so much for joining the program. The phone lines are ringing off the hook, so let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Ron.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good today.
Awesome.
I would like to differ a bit with that previous caller. Character does count. Okay, if you look at the reasons why we have to be having an election 2 years after the previous one, it's over issues like trust, okay, and fairness. And anybody who puts themselves up for public office should expect scrutiny. I listened to the PLP candidate, Jacqueline Bryan. I think it was on Women in Politics, the program was. And she got pretty angsty, pretty uncomfortable when these sorts of issues were brought up. Issues like, for instance, governance and why she chose the association that she did. But these are valid questions to ask. And if she's going to get arrogant and dismissive, even at this stage of her candidacy. Could you imagine somebody like that in power? To me, it was a big turnoff, right? The issue of one's sexuality that came up, of course, that should not be an issue, the sexuality per se, or your sexual preferences or orientation per se. But it's the display of it, I think, was the problem. The naked, it almost seemed like predatory behavior. I think it's the predatory nature of it and the recklessness with which it was portrayed in that gave our country a bad name. That is what was in question, not the preferences of any particular politician, okay? But how it was used almost like an abuse of power to prey on people and make the other regional delegates or whatever to meetings uncomfortably enough to complain about it. I think that was the issue. That is not a good look for the country. Okay? And so back to so like I said, these character issues are just as important as the bread and butter issues, right? Because they do indicate what type of person you would be, what type of governance you would choose, if you would be fair, if you would be responsible, if you can be trusted. So I think that all of them, every last one of them, who are putting themselves up for political office right now, should be scrutinized properly, should be vetted properly.
What is your take on what Mr. Wickham said regarding the race being between Labour and PLP?
That was interesting. That a pollster would display that kind of, shall we say, reluctance to call the election. Maybe he was bitten by what happened in Grenada, okay, when he got it wrong. But I don't know if he arrived at his conclusion based on polls that he did, or just the general atmosphere in the country, or what he thinks based on what has happened over the last few months should be the outcome. All right? But I can see what he means about it being a straight fight between PLP and Labour, in the sense that you look around and it seems as if, even though Labour is in a good position to win the election outright, PLP has been, well, shall we say, the optics of the situation. We're spending more money. It would appear as if they have been making inroads. And the inroads that they would be making, you would think, would be on PAM more so than Labour, because remember that we just had an election 2 years ago. This time around, where Labour's chances seem to be even better than last time, you would think that the people who voted Labour then would stick with the party simply because they have the best chance they've ever had of winning. Whereas the PAM people have been, I would say, demoralized because they and their leaders stood by and watched the PLP undermine them to the point where they've been essentially stealing away, poaching on their supporters. I don't see, and interesting enough, I think both parties are trying to capitalize on that. The Labour Party is probably saying, well, listen, I'm not going to win anywhere, so might as well get your revenge on Dr. Harris and the PLP by voting for Labour. Okay? They're certainly less inclined, I think, to vote for the PLP because they have, like I said, they have undermined PAM, right? So there would be resentment there. And similarly, the PLP is probably trying to woo the PAM supporters, saying that, well, listen, y'all not going to win anyway, so remember your long last dislike, shall we say, some may say hatred of Labour. You might as well come over to the PLP, because as they like to say, we welcome all, even though it's the PLP that have decimated PAM. So the both are trying to use that, but overall, I think I still think that the Labour Party has the edge. It's their election to lose, simply because of the dynamics of that. I think it was Douglas Watley mentioned, okay, where the Labour slice of the pie remain pretty much the same, whereas the unity slice of the pie has been divided between PLP and PAM. So you see, in that scenario, you see who would have the advantage.
All right.
But then there's the elephant in the room with the what would happen. What has happened? I think the electorate are fed up, angry even, don't want to be in this position for the next 5 years where you have coalitions or, and decide to end it once and for all by voting for the party which they feel is best placed to end it. And I would say in this particular situation, that seems to be the Labour Party, because the others were in coalition together, and they obviously failed and split apart, and I don't think people want any more of that. Okay, so that is why I think it favors the Labour Party. But we'll see. Okay, then.
All right, caller, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. It's 11:41. We are still taking your calls here on Inside the News. We're commenting on Mr. Wickham's projection of the St. Kitts Nevis general elections. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Cornelius. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
I'm good, thanks. And you? I'm good. I'm enjoying the program so far. And we have asked Peter Wickham is a pollster who I have the greatest level of respect for, because more often times Mr. Wickham gets it right. Now, the question you have raised, or element of what Mr. Wickham spoke about whether or not he sees only PLP and the Labour Party as the two parties that are contending in this election in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I really want to agree with Mr. Wickham for two reasons. One, if you look at the endorsements that are coming from certain quarters, you're talking about people who would have been long life supporters of the People's Action Movement. Persons who would have, even in the last election, would have voted for the People's Action Movement, and they are now in full support of PLP. And so you want to ask the question, is what level of swing is occurring across the entire country and across the wider 8 constituencies? And so I really believe that Mr. Wickham might be on to something, and he might be on to something right. Now, the other point, so there is a large exodus. The other point is that the numbers, when you look at the numbers from the previous election, in a lot of the areas that the People's Action Movement won in, for example, let's use a constituency like constituency number 5, where Mr. Richards would have won, former Deputy Prime Minister would have won. When you look at the amount on the voters list, which is 3,400, at that time, we don't know what is on it now, you'd have realized that Mr. Richards got 1,219 votes. to Kenny Douglas's 800 and something, which means there is roughly, if you do the numbers, roughly there was about 1,200 persons who did not vote. Maybe you say 500 of those 500 of those people are maybe outside of the country.
You're getting onto something here.
So and the trend continues across other constituencies. If you look at the second largest constituency number 1, whereas it has always had a peak. Farmers always been able to. Farmer is going to get from the time of Michael Powell anywhere around 1,500 votes. So Farmers never been the constituency in number 1 has never passed 18. Nobody has passed 1,800 votes since the national market. So there is a particular movement. But another point I want to raise is a lot of people are ignoring what is happening over the beautiful sister island of Nevis. And I believe that there are some instructive things happening in Nevis. For example, in constituency 11, Nevis 11, where my good friend Alexis Jeffers would have won the last time by 280 votes. I don't believe that Jeffers would be able to win this time, because I don't believe that I believe the NRP based out of St. Thomas and Jeffers and those areas is more riled up now to vote for the NRP than it was before, because the NRP seemingly has that new leadership, a leader that is seemingly touching base on the ground, and running from the leader of NRP is running from the strongest base of NRP. And so I think that is something that is going to be very instructive. Also in constituency 9, where the premier is running, where the premier only won by 480 votes to Mr. Kevin Daly the last time. Would we see the same results again? What will happen with what has occurred with the current war around Spencer Brand? Will that affect the performance of the system in St. Paul? Yeah. So those are questions to be answered. You know.
Well, Colin, you've given not to cut you off, but you've given a very interesting take on what's happening in the elections, and I'm listening to you. I'm following.
Right, because you see, what is interesting too is, even if we come back to St. Kitts, when you look at, for example, constituency number 4, are you hearing me well?
Yes, I am.
Well, let's use a battleground constituency number 4. In the time of Glenn Phillips and back to County Mitcham, when Glenn Phillips won the seat, the Labour Party has always had, nobody has ever won number 4 over 1,300 votes. Lindsey Grant, much to the credit of Dr. Harris, who went down there to help him, went to 1,500 votes. And if you look at the seat historically, nobody has ever gone to 1,500 votes in that seat. Yeah? Will the incumbent, Mr. Grant, be able to go to 1,500 votes again? I don't believe so. Because if we're to follow the trend that is happening with the exodus of some supporters, I believe at best, Mr. Grant will be only able to pull out 1,000 votes on election day. At best. So there are some similar things happening. And so I'd love to see, what really occurs on the election day. But I really believe that the PLP is in prime and poised position to really win no less than 5 seats in this election. I believe they'll be able to capture 5 seats in this election, and I would be looking with my eyes wide open to what will happen in Sandy Point from Stasio Williams versus Sean Richards. I believe that a lot of people have kept their eyes off that seat, because whereas should the PLP lose number 4, I don't believe the PLP would be able to lose number 5. So Pam will not be able to win the 2. One will go. So which one will go?
Well, Wait, sorry, not to cut you off. You can go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mr. Cornelius.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a feedback. Can you turn off the radio?
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, there's slight feedback. But you want to hang up and then let me comment because here's some feedback.
Okay, no problem.
Well, caller, thank you for your contribution to the program. It's 11:40. I was saying that you've given a very interesting take on the upcoming general elections, and my colleague and I, we were just discussing the fact that the view that a lot of people have not really been looking at what's going to happen or what may happen on Nevis. Most people are focusing on the race here on St. Kitts between the Labour Party, the People's Labour Party, and the People's Action Movement. But we're not looking at what's going to happen on Nevis between NRP and CCM and then the Moral Restoration Movement. And so I think all across the board, it is going to be an interesting election, but there's some constituencies that are going to be, the results are going to be shocking. I believe the results are going to be shocking in some constituencies. I believe in some constituencies there may be some shift in the political landscape of that constituency. But again, I mean, we would always say what we think may happen, but it always it comes down to the day of the election and how political parties are able to mobilize and marshal those votes and get those people to the polls. But some constituencies, parties will be fighting neck and neck to win. We had a caller. We seem to have lost that caller. It's 11:50 and, okay, the call is about to take this call. And caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Devon, that was an interesting perspective, the Nevis end of things. But remember that the NRP leader has stated clearly that she wasn't forming any alliances, pre-election alliances, that is, but was prepared to form an alliance after the election based on the wishes of the people of St. Kitts. I think that is why there's more focus on what happens in St. Kitts, because essentially, certainly as far as the NRP is concerned, right, they will at least look at what the majority of Kittitians think before they decide who to go with. And we really shouldn't rule out Pam in this, because I think they have been going on the premise that, well, Brantley will win 3 seats in Nevis. And if he does that, then all we really have to do is win 3 in St. Kitts. Okay? And that, unfortunately, may cause them to focus on just winning 3 and not on the others. Whereas what may happen in Nevis is still, as the gentleman pointed out, is still very much up in the air, you know. And so the whole that's what makes the whole election scene so complex, as Peter Wickham suggested.
Yeah.
There are so many permutations and combinations that can happen after, which unfortunately does not bode well for the federation, actually.
Right,
because,
right.
You know, it seems as if it's going to be more of the same. There are 2 elephants in the room which I forgot to mention. One, the Prime Minister said that Sean Richards had on more than one occasion recommended that he fire Premier Brantley from the cabinet. Now, what that tells me is that even though they may have formed a CCM-PAM alliance, that itself could become very shaky in the future as well. We have to assume that it was true, because I haven't heard The Prime Minister stated it clearly, and I haven't heard
nobody refuted.
Nobody denied, right, refuted. Okay? So there is that, and the other big elephant in the room. Now, we're very clear what Premier Brantley is after with the 3 seats. He's made that clear. He wants to put Nevis in the best possible position. I know people don't like to talk about it, but it is, in fact, the elephant in the room. He wants to put Nevis in the best possible position. And so he would negotiate any alliances or whatever with that in mind, more than anything else, more than any kind of loyalty to any particular party. The big question now, though, since Mr. Brantley has adopted that position, who is going to take care of the interest in St. Kitts? Because whereas everybody agree that Nevis should get its fair share of the national pie, that fair share is still very much up in the air. What exactly is it? So some kind of negotiations will have to take place. And who then, we're very clear on who would negotiate for Nevis, but who will negotiate for St. Kitts? You see what I mean? There are some weighty constitutional issues that are going to have to be decided, right? And so that's what make the future so uncertain, and that is why I would prefer if we had a very clear mandate on the island of St. Kitts and a very clear mandate on the island of Nevis, and then we tackle these issues once and for all. Put them in black and white in the Constitution, close as many loopholes as possible, and that would make for a better federation going forward. Okay.
All right, caller, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. It's 11:55. We break at 12 for the headline news, and when we come back, we'll pick up where we left off from. Very interesting views given by the callers on the upcoming St. Kitts Nevis general elections. Very interesting. And here at work, we have been having the conversation that this election is going to be like no other on many levels. In some constituencies, I mean, it's gonna be a toss-up based on what because we're underground, we're listening to people, we're talking to different people from the different political parties, and it's gonna be a toss-up in some constituencies. But we're 13 days away from polling day. Next week, Tuesday, is nomination day, so let's see what happens. Let's hit this final call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Make it quick because we're soon out of time.
Yes, good morning. All you hear is sign of desperation, Now, the man has made his prediction. Now, it will put Pam in a better position. You already, if somebody say, look, where you in the race, and you have 100 meters, you don't practice more often? Wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. It now gives them time to work on whatever shortcomings they perceive to have. And as in the last statement you made, unless the St. Kitts parties say exactly what they intend to do with the Nevis matter, it's going to become a very important thing. We will be back in the year and a half. So to all who, if this one win and that one win, I have not heard anybody clearly articulate the Nevis fair share, especially the Labour Party. But there's no hope in PLP. Then even no recognition. And this morning, your first caller spoke about the derogatory statement, and he ended by making one. All of them need to be more respectful. And it's really amazing, But at the end of the day, somebody will win, and many people will end up at the JNF. And I've seen it before. Some people have even died, Take it as it is. It is an election. Nobody knows the outcome until it is given. And all who sure. Now, if you're so sure, then there should be no election. Just have the governor swear you in. If you're sure PLP going to win, if you show Labour gonna win, if you show PAM gonna win, because everybody can't win. Everybody can't win. The analysis we're giving is false.
Sorry, you said something that I had to laugh. You said people have died from the election. How you know that?
But before, I'm telling you, I have seen where Labour was they're gonna get all 8. Well, 2015, I sure some of them died. Plenty of them was hospital that day, you know. Because they were sure that the planes would come in and bring an equalizer, and the planes came late and they lost.
All right. Well, we're out of time, okay?
You could understand that effect? Man, some of them get heart attack. So, look, you all stop stressing up yourself. Just
all right.
Who want to vote, go and vote.
All right. Ricardo, thank you for your contribution to this program. It's 11:59. We are out of time. We'll have to break now for the headline news, and when we come back, we'll continue inside the news right here on WinFM 98.9. Stick and stay for the headline news. We will be right back. But yes, the views given by the callers have been very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I'm enjoying the different views and perspectives being given by the callers. Listening to everybody and trying to get a better understanding of what's really happening. But I still maintain, yes, that this election is going to be like no other. We've been on the ground. We've been talking to people. Different views, and it's going to be very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Not just on St. Kitts, but on Nevis as well. And so I think most people in the country have come to the conclusion that they really don't know who the next Prime Minister will be. Because you can't say that it's going to be Labour, PLP or PAM for sure. You don't know. You really don't know. And so it's going to be a toss-up. As Mr. Wickham said, it's a complex situation because you have 3 political parties in all the 8 constituencies. You have the Labour Party, which is the oldest institution. You have the People's Action Movement. So those are the 2 traditional parties with a base. Then you have the People's Labour Party, which is in government. And so it's going to be a tug of war. I don't think war should have been the right word to use there, but it's going to be a tug of war. And everybody is going to try their best to hold on and to get the majority of seats. It will be interesting. We'll now have the headline news, and when we come back, we'll continue our program for today. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius. Let's take this break, and we'll be right back.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and the ICDF Taiwan Technical Mission.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. DLU Walwyn, people you can trust.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International. By land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Think before you bin it. There can be some use in it. The Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority, in collaboration with Taiwan ICDF Technical Mission and the Department of Environment, presents Let's Recycle. We're encouraging all residential homes, commercial businesses, and schools to bring along your plastic bottles, metal cans, and aluminum cans ready for an opportunity to win big. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the following locations. In Nevis, every second and fourth Friday of each month at Delta Petroleum, ex-Petrol in Camps, Big Six in Gingerland, and the Old Artisan Village in Charlestown. In St. Kitts, every second and fourth Tuesday at the Connery Roundabout, every first and third Tuesday at Buckley's parking lot in front of Best Buy, and the last Saturday of each month in Deep Bay. But wait, that's not all. 1 pound equals 1 point. So bring your recyclables and build up your points for a chance to win stainless steel thermal bottles, flatware, and much more. To learn more about the recycling project, do visit our Facebook page at Let's Recycle in St. Kitts and Nevis, or contact us at 465-2372. The choice is yours. Save it or waste it. You are the difference. So think smart. Take PAT, reduce, reuse, recycle.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With the Win Headline News, I am Kevon Brown.
I am Devon Cornelius.
Making the headlines,
political parties react to Peter Wickham's projection of upcoming general elections.
The World Health Organization declares the monkeypox virus a public health emergency of international concern. 8 opposition MPs in Guyana were suspended over parliamentary protest. Internationally, Sri Lanka's new president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has been criticized for a violent crackdown on anti-government protesters. Demonstrators had been occupying the area surrounding the presidential secretariat in Colombo.
Now, the details. Political scientist Peter Wickham's projection of the general elections in St. Kitts and Nevis has prompted responses from political parties in the country. Speaking with WinFM on Friday, July 22nd, 2022, Craig Tuckett, Director of Communications for the People's Labour Party PLP, expressed confidence that the PLP will remain in office with Dr. Timothy Harris as Prime Minister.
We know that the secure future that has been promised will be attained and is going to be attained as of the 6th of August 2022. So, if persons who, through science and through experience, can see the writing on the wall, I think the people of St. Kitts and Nevis already know what they will do on Election Day.
Wickham, in an interview on ABS television, commented on the upcoming general elections. He said the race on St. Kitts will be between the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, led by Dr. Terence Drew, and the People's Labour Party of Dr. Harris. PLP took full charge of the government when its party leader, Dr. Harris, the country's prime minister, fired 6 ministers from his Team Unity cabinet, sparing Eugene Hamilton, who later announced that he will not seek re-election on a People's Action Movement PAM ticket. Health Minister Akila Byron Nisbet, PLP's deputy leader, Attorney General Vincent Byron Jr., and Senator Wendy Phipps also remain in cabinet. PAM, in a statement issued Friday, reacted to Wickham's projection. Quote, voters have expressed their satisfaction with the positive style of campaigning that PAM has undertaken as their candidates focus on the programs and policies that will guide their vision for the country. PAM explained that their confidence in victory is not only influenced by the positive responses and interactions with voters across all 8 constituencies in St. Kitts, but also by credible scientific polling. PAM, which held 4 seats in the last parliament, is still on track to retain those constituencies and will be successful in others, end quote. The statement further said, quote, in examining that pundit's recent tainted record, the inaccuracies in his predictions were glaring, misleading, and seemingly not in tune with the reality that was on the ground in those countries, end quote. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party declined to comment on Wickham's projection.
The World Health Organization has announced that the spread of the monkeypox virus is a public health emergency of international concern.
WHO's assessment is that the risk of monkeypox is moderate globally and in all regions, except in the European region, where we assess the risk is high. There is also a clear risk of further international spread, although the risk of interference with international traffic remains low for the moment. So in short, we have an outbreak that has spread around the world rapidly through new modes of transmission about which we understand too little and which meets the criteria in the international health regulations. For all of these reasons, I have decided that the global monkeypox outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern,
said Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization, during a media briefing on monkeypox on July 23rd. In June, the Director General convened the committee under the International Health Regulation to assess whether the outbreak of monkeypox in multiple countries represented a public health emergency of international concern. At that meeting, the committee, by consensus, determined at the time it did not represent such a classification. Another emergency committee meeting was convened on July 21st because of the current spread of the monkeypox virus. There are more than 16,000 confirmed cases of the virus in 75 countries and territories and 5 deaths. At the meeting, a consensus was not reached on whether to declare it a public health emergency of international concern. Thus, Dr. Ghebreyesus, in his capacity as Director General, determined it necessary to make the declaration without a consensus from the committee. Dr. Michael Ryan, Executive Director of the World Health Organization Health Emergencies Program, explained why such a decision was made without the committee's input.
In this case, he's not going against their advice or findings. He found that the committee did not reach a consensus, despite having a very open, very useful, very considered debate on the issues. In that sense, he's not going against the committee. What he's recognizing is that there are deep complexities in this issue. There are uncertainties on all sides, and he's reflecting that uncertainty in his determination.
Dr. Ghebreyesus outlined during the media briefing 5 considerations that he must review before declaring a public health emergency of international concern.
Under the international health regulations, I'm required to consider 5 elements in deciding whether an outbreak constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. First, the information provided by countries, which in this case shows that this virus has spread rapidly to many countries that have not seen it before. Second, the 3 criteria for declaring a public health emergency of international concern under the international health regulations which have been met. Third, the advice of the emergency committee, which has not reached a consensus. Fourth, scientific principles, evidence, and other relevant information, which are currently insufficient and leave us with many unknowns. And fifth, the risk to human health, international spread, and the potential for interference with international traffic.
Executive Director of the World Health Organization Health Emergencies Program, Dr. Ryan, said that efforts can now be intensified to control the spread of the virus. The Director General also outlined some recommendations for the way forward.
Accordingly, I have made a set of recommendations for 4 groups of countries. First, those that have not yet reported a case of monkeypox or have not reported a case for more than 21 days. Second, those with recently imported cases of monkeypox and that are experiencing human-to-human transmission. This includes recommendations to implement a coordinated response to stop transmission and protect vulnerable groups, to engage and protect affected communities, to intensify surveillance and public health measures, to strengthen clinical management and infection prevention and control in hospitals and clinics, to accelerate research into the use of vaccines, therapeutics, and other tools, and recommendations on international travel. The third group of countries is those with transmission of monkeypox between animals and humans. And the fourth is countries with manufacturing capacity for diagnostics, vaccines, and therapeutics.
The spread of the monkeypox virus is now the 7th time the Public Health Emergency of International Concern declaration has been made since 2009, with the most recent declaration being for COVID-19 in 2020, which remains a public health emergency of international concern. Health authorities in St. Kitts and Nevis have said that there is no suspected, confirmed, or pending results for monkeypox. In the region, Jamaica, the Bahamas, St. Lucia, and the Dominican Republic have had suspected or confirmed cases of the virus. Regional health bodies PAHO and CARPHA are monitoring the spread of the virus in the region of the Americas, where, according to the weekly epidemiology report from PAHO, as of July 21st, there are 3,772 confirmed cases in 18 countries. In regional news, 8 opposition MPs in Guyana were suspended over parliamentary protest. Guyana News source has that story.
At the stroke of 1 o'clock this morning, the National Assembly, with the governing People's Progressive Party using its majority, adopted a report of the Privileges Committee and went ahead with the suspension of 8 opposition members of Parliament. The motion to adopt the recommendations of the Privileges Committee was put to the House by the Minister of Governance, Gail Teixeira, and supported by Attorney General Anil Nandlal and Joiner List member Lennox Schumann. The APNU-AFC opposition played no part in the debate of the motion. The coalition had objected to the recommendations of the Privileges Committee to suspend the opposition members of Parliament over the protests that enveloped the House back in December during the presentation of the Natural Resource Fund Bill. The MPs that are to be suspended are Opposition Chief Whip Christopher Jones, Ganesh Mahipal, Sherrod Duncan, Natasha Singh, Vince Roy Jordan, Annette Ferguson, Tabitha Sarbo-Halley, and Maureen Philadelphia. Some are to be suspended for 4 sittings, while others will face suspension for 6 sittings. The recommendations for the suspensions to be handed down came from the government members of the Privileges Committee, which is chaired by the Speaker, as the opposition members stayed away from most of the committee's meetings on the issue. The opposition members also filed court proceedings against the suspensions, but that matter has not come up for a hearing just yet. The opposition is maintaining that a suspension of the 8 members of Parliament is illegal, since there was no fair hearing and the members were never allowed to appear before the committee that handed down the sanctions. Governance Minister Gail Teixeira defended the decision of the Privileges Committee to suspend the members of Parliament, declaring that proper parliamentary conduct must always be maintained.
But I hope that you will not see this as just another battle to win, but to sit and think quietly. Was it all worth it? What badge of honor have you got out of this behavior? And what example have you given to the Guyanese people and to the Guyanese young people and the children who saw that day? So, Mr. Speaker, I totally support the recommendations of the committee of which I was a part of which you chaired, and I want to ask the members of the opposition to please accept the recommendations with dignity and remorse, and let's get on with the business of this House.
The Attorney General Anil Nandlal, who also supported the suspension of the 8 opposition members, made reference to the move by the opposition members to the court to challenge the suspension. He said the judiciary should exercise caution and care in approaching an issue of a parliamentary committee.
But, Mr. Speaker, the matter is already in the court. And I suspect, rather, I have no doubt, that the record of tonight's proceedings will become part of those court proceedings. And I wanted to speak quickly to put on the record certain matters that should be there. Sir, the first thing that we have to establish and put on the record is that we have in Guyana a constitutional democracy where the Constitution is supreme. That Constitution is built upon the doctrine of separation of powers, and that doctrine divides constitutional responsibility mainly into 3 organs: the Parliament, the judiciary, and the executive. Each of these institutions have certain core functions to perform.
The APNU-AFC opposition coalition has rejected the suspensions and has also noted that in previous cases, when issues arose in Parliament that were before the court, the Speaker disallowed any discussion on those issues. The Speaker was informed in writing of the move to the court by the 8 opposition members.
We now bring you these international reports.
An uneasy face-off in Sri Lanka on Friday evening, very different to the chaos of the morning. Hundreds of military personnel and police commandos surrounded anti-government protesters who had camped outside the president's office for 105 days. Mobile phone footage was live-streamed by those who were barricaded in and attacked.
Thousands of soldiers came and brutally beaten peaceful protesters and destroyed some IT camps and those things and take over the place behind us. And some of the protesters in the hospital, they are badly injured, and some of arrested, and also lawyers are also arrested. And I think President is covered, and he took cowardly action against the peaceful protesters.
Condemnation of the government's actions was harsh and swift.
Ranil, you are not too big for us. After taking the oath as president, you started with oppression. You started by warning the people. And we will respond to your oppression, your threats, and your thugs peacefully and democratically.
Lawyers say the use of armed forces to suppress civilian demonstrations on the new president's first day in office is despicable. The Centre for Policy Alternatives has called on Wickremesinghe to issue a public apology, ensure an independent investigation, and revoke the state of emergency. The UN has added its voice to the criticism.
The use of force against peaceful protesters runs contrary to international law, and we urge authorities to immediately halt the use of such force. All Sri Lankans have the right to freedom of expression, peaceful assembly, and the right to participate in public affairs.
But the president was busy swearing in his new prime minister and cabinet. Wickremesinghe has reappointed the same people who served under the Rajapaksas, prompting claims that he is acting as a proxy for the family.
Protesters say they don't want another Rajapaksa in power, but the actions of the new president suggests he comes from the same mould. They say they won't stop their campaign till Ranil Wickremesinghe resigns. Minal Fernandez, Al Jazeera, Colombo.
Ukraine's military says Russia has targeted port infrastructure in the city of Odessa with cruise missiles. They say 2 strikes hit the Black Sea port and another 2 were shot down by air defense. It comes a day after both countries signed a deal brokered by Turkey and the United Nations to reopen the ports to resume grain exports. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry is now calling on both the UN and Turkey to make sure Russia holds up its end of the deal. Al Jazeera correspondent Tamir Al-Samadi is in Odessa.
We saw missiles with the naked eye. We're talking about 2 missiles until now, and we've been able for the first time since our arrival here to trace these missiles. They were really close, just above us. Until this moment, we heard 4 explosions in more than one location. We can also hear the siren alarms in the area. They went off right before the Ukrainian anti-aircraft missiles targeted what it says are Russian rockets.
Odessa port is one of the largest ports in the Black Sea basin, so it is crucial for Ukraine. And of course, the Black Sea is where these grain exports need to go through to ease the impending global food crisis. Ukraine and Russia, as we've said, signed deals to allow the exports of grain through the Black Sea, with Turkey, which controls the all-important Bosphorus, to inspect ships to ease concerns of Russia about weapons smuggling. Well, joining me now from Odessa is Hannah Shelest, Director of Security Studies Program at the security think tank Ukrainian Prism. Thank you very much for joining us. So you heard these explosions, or you saw what happened. Tell us what you saw.
Yes, definitely, because I've been in my summer house just on the beach, so I saw both the work of the air defense and of the Russian missiles. As for now, we already have confirmed 4 missiles, 2 of which being targeted by the Ukrainian counterattack, and 2, unfortunately, fall in Odessa port. And you need to understand that Odessa port is just in the downtown, in the historical downtown of the city. So it's extremely dangerous from all points of view. And you were absolutely right that it happened less than 24 hours after yesterday the grain deal was signed, where 3 Ukrainian ports were named, and Odessa port is one of 3. 2 others are just 40 kilometers aside. Well, Russians targeted, as far as we know, already exactly the grain terminal. So it's been, as for me, is real bullying of the international community and neglecting of that agreement that had been signed yesterday.
I mean, there's 20 million tons of grain from last year's harvest ready to be shipped out. So how do you think Ukraine is likely to respond to this? I mean, it's already said that this is Putin spitting in the face of the UN and Turkey. What do you think is going to happen next?
Ukraine is trying since March to export at least some amount of that grains to the world market by land and railway, but capacities comparing to what we could export by sea to what we can export by land, it is 1 to 5. So as for now, probably 1 million tons per month. That's what the road and the rail routes can help us, because already Romania, Poland, other neighboring countries are trying to help. So as for now, first of all, we definitely need the official explanations from the side of the Russian side. And what is even more important, that yesterday the agreement was signed by the Ministry of Defense. So they are totally responsible for the yesterday agreement and for today's missiles. It's not Ukraine is claiming it is Russian missiles. It's definitely not Romanian or Turkish missiles against Odessa port. And we know it's already confirmed by the official side that it's been Kalibr missile. So Russians used a very high precise missile, so they knew exactly what they're targeting and why.
We haven't heard from Russia yet. I'll get you to stand by there for us, Ms. Shelest, because I want to take a look at what that deal actually was or is. So a joint Turkish and UN control centre is to be set up in Istanbul. It will control all the deliveries of grain. Ukrainian vessels are meant to guide the grain shipments through mined waters in and out of port. Russia has promised not to attack the cargo ships. It did make that promise, and Turkey and the UN will inspect those ships. However, because Russia is worried that they'll be used to smuggle weapons, that's why they're going to be inspected. So the agreement will last 4 months and will be renewed automatically. So, Hannah Shelest, do you think that is the end of that deal then?
As for now, I hope that no, because we understand that it will be the punch not only against the United Nations, but also against Turkey. And Turkey invested a lot of effort to make this deal happen. And also, I would like to clarify here a little bit that joint center is not just UN Turkish. Russian representatives also will be there. So Russia received the access for inspection. They cannot claim that they are not allowed to check what is on the ship. The only thing that these inspections will be happening in Turkey, in Bosphorus. So their ships, their inspectors will not be allowed at the territorial waters of Ukraine. But still, that is quite a significant compromise from Ukrainian side. As for now, everybody were talking that in 10 days the first ship can go. I don't know from where this number of days appeared, but theoretically we definitely need to see the establishment of the center, the appointment of the inspectors, the setting of the routes and procedures, and the question of the demining or at least the minesweeper ships of the third countries, as is written in the agreement, that will accompany the ship. And it is not Ukrainian ships. It can be the ship of any country under any flag. The only thing is that they are coming to 3 Ukrainian ports to export Ukrainian grains and ammonia, because the deal was a little bit wider. It's more about other types of the food and ammonia because that is fertilizer.
All right. Hey, thank you very much for your time there, Hannah Shelest, Director of Security Studies Program at the security think tank Ukrainian Prism. Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov both hailed the grain deal on Friday, saying it would mean positive outcomes for both people in the region and abroad.
These are the incomes of farmers, the entire agricultural sector and the state budget. These are jobs. These are funds for next year's sowing. There's a chance here to reduce the seriousness of a food crisis caused by Russia and prevent a global catastrophe. A famine that could lead to political chaos in many countries, particularly those that help us.
Thanks to the efforts of the Russian delegation, it was possible to maintain the comprehensive, depoliticized nature of the agreement, thereby ensuring the maximum possible movement of grain towards developing countries. Russia will continue to be faithful to its obligations in this area. The use of food by the United States and its allies for their geopolitical interests is unacceptable and inhumane.
Hello and welcome. We start from Washington, where Steve Bannon, who worked closely with the former President Donald Trump as a strategist, has been found guilty of contempt of Congress. The charges were brought after he defied a summons to testify at the congressional hearings into the January the 6th riots at the U.S. Capitol building. He'll be sentenced in October. He could face up to 2 years in prison. But speaking outside the courtroom in just the last hour, he remained unrepentant.
I want to start by thanking the jury. We respect their decision today. I really want to thank those hardworking citizens of Washington, D.C. that had to take an entire week off to go through this. So their thanks. We respect their decision. We may have lost a battle here today, but we're not going to lose this war. In the closing argument, the prosecutor missed one very important phrase, right? I stand with Trump and the Constitution, and I will never back off that, ever.
So Steve Bannon there speaking outside the court within just the last hour. He has been found guilty of 2 counts of contempt of Congress. Let's cross over live to speak to our correspondent in Washington, Barbara Plett-Usher, who joins us now. Barbara, let's start with what he has been found guilty of, these 2 charges.
Yes, the issue is quite straightforward. Did Mr. Bannon defy Congress by flouting the subpoena issued him by its investigating committee? 2 subpoenas, one to deliver documents and one to testify, and he did neither. He had argued that it was not a flouting, that he had executive privilege, that he was in negotiations with the committee, he didn't realize there was a deadline, and so on. The prosecution said he had blatant disregard for their demands and that he was doing so to protect his former boss, President Trump. So he has been found guilty on both charges. These are misdemeanor crimes. And as you mentioned, the most severe sentence would be up to 2 years in prison.
And this is, of course, all in context when it comes to the committee that is looking at what happened during the riots on the 6th of January 2021. This is what is so crucial about his potential involvement, what he has been accused of.
That's right. The committee wanted to speak to him because it had information that he had taken part in consultations with Mr. Trump and his allies around a strategy to overturn the election, that he had also, on his podcast the night before the January 6th assault, had basically said all hell would break loose the next day. So they wanted to question him on his involvement. Now that he has been convicted, he is the first close Trump aide to be convicted in a matter related to an investigation into the Capitol attack. Again, it's a low-level crime, but he is the first. It could strengthen the committee's hand as it tries to get more information from Mr. Trump's allies, as it has issued subpoenas that have been resisted in other cases, and it plans to issue more, so it might have a greater leverage in that case. It's not clear if this would encourage it to make criminal referrals in more high-level crimes, but it is an interesting development. And the lawyer of Mr. Bannon has said they will appeal the decision. He said there was a government overreach, in particular because the committee would not accept the argument that Mr. Bannon had executive privilege because he was protected by having formerly worked in the White House.
And this particular trial itself, it was short, and as we were talking a little bit earlier, the jury came to their conclusions pretty quickly. We heard Steve Bannon come out there afterwards being unrepentant and very much sticking to his line. So I wonder what we can expect next, if anything.
Well, the sentencing is going to take place in October. So we'll find out what the sentence is going to be. There is going to be this appeal, according to his lawyer, and it sounds like Mr. Bannon will keep up his political opposition stance to the committee itself. He said his greatest disappointment was that what he called the showcase committee members the members of the showcase committee investigation had not had the guts to come forth and testify at the trial. So it sounds like he is going to continue his public attacks on the committee. It also sounds like he is completely unrepentant for having stood by Mr. Trump.
You were listening to the WinFM Headline News on 98.9. Our top stories were:
political parties react to Peter Wickham's projection of upcoming general elections.
The World Health Organization declares the monkeypox virus a public health emergency of international concern. 8 opposition MPs in Guyana were suspended over parliamentary protest. Internationally, Sri Lanka's new president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has been criticized for a violent crackdown on anti-government protesters. Demonstrators had been occupying the area surrounding the presidential secretariat in Colombo. Thank you for listening.
That was the WinFM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and the ICDF Taiwan Technical Mission.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Think before you bin it. There can be some use in it. The St. Kitts and Nevis Solid Waste Management, in collaboration with Taiwan ICDF Technical Mission and the Department of Environment, presents Let's Recycle. We are encouraging all residential homes, commercial businesses, and schools to bring along your plastic bottles, metal cans, and aluminum cans ready for an opportunity to win big. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every second and fourth Tuesday each month at the following locations in St. Kitts: the Connery Roundabout, every first and third Tuesday at Buckley's parking lot in front of Best Buy, and the last Saturday of each month in Deep Bay. In Nevis, every second and fourth Friday of each month at Delta Petroleum, Ex-Petrol in Camps, Big Six in Gingerland, and Old Artisan Village in Charlestown. But wait, that's not all. 1 pound equals 1 point. So bring your recyclables and build up your points for a chance to win stainless steel thermal bottle, flatware set, and much more. To learn more about the recycling project, do visit our Facebook page at Let's Recycle in St. Kitts and Nevis, or contact us at 465-2372. The choice is yours. Save it or waste it. You are the difference. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tilly Wall with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoy the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
People make the world go
that time of year again to get everything you need for back to school. Go to the TDC Home and Building Depot in St. Kitts and City Drugstore Nevis Limited or shop tdcgroup.com. Shop and get deep discounts for all your school essentials. Backpacks, notebooks, pens, pencils, school bundles, computers, and more. While you're there, be sure to donate to Shop and Share to help the less fortunate and stay ahead of the grade. Oh, and don't forget, Flash Sale Fridays. Now that you know, class is dismissed. See you at the TDC Home and Building Depot and City Drugstore Nevis Limited. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. It's 12:44 here in our studios, and we're going to get the program started again. Let me apologize for the late start. We just had the news was just a little bit longer. But thank you so much for joining the program. Those of you who are listening via radio, and of course those of you who have joined via the internet, thank you so much for joining the program today. So we are going to continue with the discussion we had earlier. Of course, Mr. Wickham's projection of the upcoming St. Kitts Nevis general elections. And I wanted to read another article produced here by WinFM. And this one is the response by some of the political parties. All right, so for those of you who just joined the program, earlier we spoke about Mr. Wickham's projection of the upcoming St. Kitts Nevis general elections. No, we were able to speak with the political parties here in St. Kitts on Mr. Wickham's projection. And I think you guys heard this in the news, so I won't read the entire article again, except to say that the PLP responded to Mr. Wickham's projection, and they said, the communications director said, we know that the secure future that has been promised will be attained and is going to be attained as of August 6th, 2022. So if the people who choose science and experience can see the writing on the wall, I think the people of St. Kitts and Nevis already know what they will do on election day. Then we got a statement from Pam, and Pam responded to Mr. Wickham's projection. Pam said, quote, voters have expressed their satisfaction with the positive style of campaigning that Pam has undertaken as their candidates focus on the programs and policies that will guide their vision for the country. Pam explained that their confidence in victory is not only influenced by the positive responses and interactions with voters from all 8 constituencies in St. Kitts, but also by credible scientific polling. Pam, which held 4 seats in the last parliament, is still on course to retain those constituencies and will be successful in others. The statement further said, quote, In examining that pundit's recent tainted record, the inaccuracies in his predictions were glaring, misleading, and seemingly not in tune, with the reality that was on the ground in those countries. Those countries they were referring to his prediction in Grenada, and I think St. Lucia, where he got it wrong with those projections. The phone lines are open. We are taking your calls right here on Inside the News. It is 12:48. Of course, we go right up until 1:30, but we're taking your calls right here at 466-0989, 762-0989, or 662-0989. What is your take on the response by the parties? Sorry, the Sinkist Naval Sabre Party declined to comment on the matter. Let's take this call. The caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius again.
Yes, good
I would like to make a response to a statement that...
Wait, caller, there's some feedback. Turn off the radio, yes.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. This lady said I ended my presentation of making some derogatory statement. Mr. Cornelius, my contribution this morning, today, was simply an appeal to the campaigners to keep it clean, to stay away from the sexual connotation, the sexual finger pointing. And so I don't know if the word lesbian offended her, but she is an educator. She knows what a lesbian is. And if you have male and female in the ways, it is fair to say keep away from talking about lesbianism, homosexuality. This homosexual could mean both of them too. But we will normally ascribe the homosexual to men. Some of us say faggot, punk, whatever. But we all know what we're talking about. So I was saying, let us keep those things out of it. I didn't call nobody name and ascribe none of the labels to anybody. So I don't know what she's talking about, derogatory. She knows better than that. But she's trying to muddy, do whatever she wants.
Well, let's not make this let's not make it a back and forth between you and that caller.
No, I'm just trying to say that the point that I was making is that we do not need to go down the road. We had an election in 2020. None of those topics came up. You can't go and call and talk about people's sexual predatory nature and don't expect it's not going to drag the other things in it. Abusing had no rules. And even while they try to set some rules, we know how those rules go. Nobody don't abide by them. So it is best to stay out of there. You're going to hear people, once you open that kind of worm, you're going to hear people not only talking about the candidate, but the family and the this and that. And that is what we're saying we don't want. We have moved away. We're trying to move away from that sort of politics. And that was my point when I said there are 7 women in the running, and we were looking towards those women who came in with high, esteem and everybody looking up to them to make a difference from the old-time way of politics. So let us get it clear and not have it twisted. What I'm saying now, too, she then said, Pam could go and start practicing. Everybody done on the starting race for the 100 meter, done set the blocks, done got on the tracks, everything. So, me know what practice again, practice all it now. So, by the time they come back, the race done. So, let JP to go with his 20-point plan or whatever. He need to go back into hiding. Nobody want to hear nothing from he all it now. So, he was in hiding, let him go back in hiding. Nubian is going to whip him. Okay? The Labour Party felt also that they would have sit back and drink the water and let PLP and PAM devour each other, and the election were going to suddenly drop in their lap. But they got a rude awakening. They didn't expect PLP to not just rob them, but surge ahead, go and left them. And so they stoop into the lies. They didn't even leave that for PAM. The Labour people, the Labour Party, the oldest party, man, come on. What I'm saying, Mr. Cornelius, is an appeal. Let us not go down that road. Let us not, if you realize I have dismissed the NGOs with the code of conduct, right? Because they have totally failed us. Like I said, when they was to start calling out people for doing those things they didn't. So I am now asking the individual parties and, to govern themselves accordingly. So let's not get it twisted, people. PLP is ahead. I agree with Mr. Tuckett. PLP have the majority, the momentum right now. And that is what is eating out Labour. And that is why they are stooping so low. PAM is out of the equation. So when bother with a PAM. So you're not going to point plan nothing from JP22. You understand? PAM. So let us keep it clean in terms of dealing with the issue. And if the people them young and old listen PLP, they will realize PLP is offering everything better. Thanks a lot, sir. I just wanted to clear the air on that matter. Bless it.
All right, caller, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. We're still taking your calls here on Inside the News for Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. We are commenting on Peter Wickham's projection of the upcoming St. Kitts Nevis general elections. I just read one of our articles where the parties responded. PLP said that they are confident of a win and that Timothy Harris will return as the country's prime minister. PAM disagreed with Mr. Wickham's projection, and PAM said that they have scientific polling that suggests that they're going to retain their 4 seats in the parliament. And so with regards to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, when we reached out to the representative there, they declined to comment. And so it has been very interesting over the past few days, or maybe a day or two. Yeah, a day or two. With regards to what Mr. Wickham has said. And of course, this is all across the region because he was at the time speaking during an interview on ABS television in Antigua when he was making those comments referring to our general elections. Let's head back to the phone lines. Okay. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Devon. Had your lunch?
No, not yet. You?
Well, I had a little snack. Snack don't amount to lunch, but stop the gap. I want to send birthday greetings to all those who are celebrating today. Yesterday was my son and his wife wedding anniversary. And, Condoleezza Rice got some bad news from Barbados. I think I asked listeners on this radio to pray for a friend of mine, one of my university friends. She had called me during the week and said that her brother-in-law had COVID, and he passed yesterday. So to all of us who taking COVID as a joke, when we say we have to live with it, you don't mean, well, if I get it, I get it. Because I am getting the impression that that is what some people are thinking. And you will listen to the news, you hear, I think 3 have passed, right? So when they say live with it and personal responsibility, please take it seriously. This is not an old man. Please take it seriously. Now to the first caller, the one before me. I don't think he listened to the meetings because the other night I happened to wake up in time to hear his leader calling Mr. Hamilton drunk with the bottle and the amount of names. We have got to be honest. When we say all the leaders, say my leader and the rest. And as I said already, I say it again. When just like when they say hurricane come in or whatever, you fix up your house, you get your stocks. That's what it means. All that the man gave was the forecast. Wasn't that so?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, because he admitted that he did not take any survey. None was done, but everybody have the feeling. I will not discount him. It is true he got the last one wrong. And of course that would reduce the reliability of his prediction. But he could be right, he could be wrong. The thing is, we should not be crossing the man, number one, eh? What we should do, work on our situations or our party, if it is against you, to improve it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said, is that so?
I agree.
Yeah.
I've been checking some of the responses, and the responses are disappointing.
The party to win. Me got a party to win.
Well,
Win.
what I'm trying to get at is that some of the responses that I've seen, people are not responding to what Mr. Wickham really said. You know, people are attacking the man personally.
Yeah.
And so instead of focusing on what he said, they are focusing on who said it. And so they are attacking him personally, and it's really unnecessary.
Now look at it another way. You notice sometimes when there's a hurricane coming, and to the grace of God, it's tear off of us. Some people cuss, oh, the prediction now is wrong. No, they don't make me no go shop. You don't hear that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what kind of logic and reasoning we use? All I am saying, if you keep up this thing about my party going to win and my party must win, the morning after you're going to get a heart attack. Because none of the leaders believe that they're going to win all. None. None. And by the way, the one with Nevis again. You notice nobody, as you said, talking about NRP?
I never said that.
Repeat what you said.
I never said that.
Now I'm talking about in terms of who going to win and who going to win. The discussion is...
I said, let me tell you what I said. I said the discussion is on St. Kitts.
Right. That's
And
what
nobody's focusing on what's happening on Nevis.
That's what I mean.
Well, say what I said, don't say what I don't say.
All right, so thank you for saying what you say. Now, what I would say is that there seem to be some, I'm trying to find the right word, belief that the NRP is out of it. You don't get the impression? That seems to be the impression. Well, he's saying it's election, and what happened in Nevis is happening in Nevis. I mean, one of them said it. But we should be wise and think wisely. We wish and we don't wish. But everybody have a right. And what about Kalanje's party? The Pan-African Party. And another young man came on. Said he has another, I think he planned to run independent too. Has anybody considered them as part of the election race?
I don't. I'm not sure.
But you notice that they excluded from the discussion. You know, so for our people, I am saying relax.
All right.
You want your party to win, is all right, but do not be attacking people. And please, when you are making statements, I hear all of them. I'm out the other tree.
All right. Well, caller, we want to take this short break. All right.
Yes, but please to tell them they signed it. You see what happens when people sign paper around here? They don't mean anything.
All right. Let's take this short break, and we will be right back.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. Let's head back to the phone lines. Okay, we lost that caller. Let's take this one. Caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. There is a little problem that I have. There are some candidates who are running for this upcoming election, and we simply cannot get them on air to answer questions from the electorate. I'm talking about people like Talbot. There's this young man for number 4, Kendall Liebert. Some of the new candidates.
Well, Kendall was... Sorry, not to cut you off. Kendall was here about a week or two ago on Voices.
And he was answering questions from
the public?
Yes,
he was, yes.
Okay, well, I apologize for that, for calling his name there. But there are a number of candidates who I just have not heard from answering questions in the public. I do believe Miss Bryant was another one. She was on the air taking questions, yet she refused to answer some pertinent questions that was asked about. I do believe we are, 2 weeks before an election, and we should know the type of person that we intend to employ. So I would like to see more of the candidates answering questions from the general public, not have a prepared speech or go on a platform and have exactly what they want to say. I want them to answer the questions from the public. Thanks for taking my call, sir.
And thank you so much for your contribution to this program. It's 5 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock in the studios of WinFM 98.9, and we are still taking your calls. The phone lines are open. Call us at 466-0989, 762-0989, or 662-0989. What is your take on Wickham's projections and the responses by the parties? Generally, what's happening in the St. Kitts Nevis elections, the campaign season. The parties are the parties are in full campaign mode. Everybody is out trying to sell themselves as the best option for St. Kitts and Nevis. And so it's just for us to sit back and see what is going to sit back and look on and see what is going to happen. But I do believe that it is going to be an interesting race, and with the best man or woman win this one. Of course, looking at the different responses and listening to the different callers give their take. Very interesting opinions. Let's head back to the phone lines. We have another caller. The caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Did Mr. Wickham did a poll?
No, he said he didn't do a poll.
So how he come up with that suggestion?
Well, I guess based on the present situation, regional pollsters usually make a forecast by looking at the current situation, and then they do a poll, and the poll will say for definitively who will win the election. But they usually give something like a prediction, but we say a projection because they study the current situation.
Well, if you got to view the situation and you deal with numbers, how could you exclude the party with the second largest number of voters from an election? Because election is about numbers, you know. It's not about who you see with the noise and the perception. It's about numbers. Because according to the perception, the Labour Party will win every election. You know that?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so...
So what is your take on this one?
The People's Action Movement, let's take, for instance, constituency number 5. Let me put the numbers together. And we have Sean Richards won that election 2 years ago by over 500 votes. Right? You have constituency number 4. You have the numbers like 350-something. Constituency number 2. You have 200 and something votes. Right? When you look at it, constituency number 1, the Labour Party won that by 24 votes. So people got to be careful. You got to work out who voted and who didn't vote, where they lean and why they didn't vote. There's a lot of things to take in consideration. That is why house to house is very important. And that's why you find some people are able to say, I am winning this based on their canvassing. They should know where they stand. So Peter, we come to say that the People's Action Movement is not in this race. That is to me, that is putting his credibility on the line. To me, as a pollster, you don't say something like that because you cannot exclude the party with the second largest number of voters.
Mm-hmm.
No care how you put it, you cannot exclude them and say they are not a part of the race.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody with common sense will say that what Mr. Wickham did, he actually do himself some injustice by going out there on a limb and say something like that. That is not, if you didn't do a poll, based on what's going on and the thing, there's a lot of things that drive people out and people gravitate to certain things. That doesn't mean it is concrete.
Mm-hmm. Following you.
You see? So because you got to remember, it's two election, the last 2 elections in the Caribbean, he get wrong, The last 2 elections, he did get wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if he now turn on and get this one wrong, he gonna have problem getting jobs.
Well, it's there for us to see what's going to happen on the day. No one knows for a fact what the outcome will be. Who's
No
going
one
to
knows
get the
for a fact,
majority?
and I'm telling you.
Hold on. It's just for us to we'll monitor the situation and we'll see what's happening. But it's in the hands of the people. The people will decide.
And I could tell you this, going around and meeting people, the People's Action Movement have a very good chance, and as a matter of fact, is in the better position to fight than any other movement, any other party. They are in the best, and that is what I'm getting from the people out there, that they are in a best spot to farm the government. So when we come, I am wondering if that thing was willfully done.
Well, caller, thank you for your contribution to this program. We have to take some more calls, all right?
All right.
All right, take care. Thank you so much for your contribution. It is 10 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. This is Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. We are on the topic of Mr. Wickham's projection of the upcoming St. Kitts general elections. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. This pollster type of things, why are we into that? Was it absolutely necessary for us to get into pollsters, sending for them and paying them thousands of dollars where people here living in property? With this pollster saying people coming to your island and saying this and that and the other, things that we already know. I think it's a total abuse of whoever is bringing these people here in our islands. I don't know how big and what involvement St. Kitts having, but I'm a little nervous. We started here some years ago, and I was a member of CCM when these people started coming in. And it was never brought to executive. And I know a lot of people at executive were not happy to bring a pollster here, paying so much money just to say something that we already knew about elections. But it has gravitated every island in the Caribbean, struggling as though we are struggling. And still bringing in these pollsters to tell us what? You cannot guarantee on what they say. As I said, the last 2 polls that this gentleman did in Grenada, and it was wrong, so we continue with them. I think it's a waste of money, it's an abuse of money, and these polling things should be don't know, unless we just want to say we're doing what America doing or we're doing what England doing by having pollsters. We just want to be involved in this nonsense. And that's my contribution as far as that is concerned. This pollsters type of stuff with to become and whoever else was before him and who coming after him, I don't think it's necessary.
All right, caller, thank you so much for your contribution to the program. It is 13 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock here in the studios of 1FM 98.9, and we're taking your calls. I want to hear from you, your take on the projection by Mr. Wickham. If I can do a bit of a recap based on some of the comments that have been shared by the callers. Well, some, as I've said before, are in agreement with what Mr. Wickham said. Others are not. Some of the callers spoke to, character assassination and getting defamatory and people getting personal, which is something that the Code of Conduct for the political process talked about, and asking candidates and their associates to refrain from doing such. We have a caller on the line. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, thanks. What about you?
I'm doing great, man.
Awesome. Good to hear.
I tuned in and I heard the two last caller, which they were really, honestly, on the money. And I am telling you, the more and more and more I listen, I follow, the more and more and I am convinced that Pam is the best hope for St. Kitts and Nevis. No doubt about that. Let me ask you a question which I was supposed to ask you last week. Who you think bought these paints where these people have been going around the country doing the nonsense? In your opinion, who you think bought the paints?
Well, I really think it is influential people around the parties. I wouldn't blame any of the party leaders, but I also would say that perhaps it is influential people who support the different parties.
Well, I can tell you that the People's Action Movement is not engaged and will not support this foolishness and nonsense. We have never done it, and we have no intention. I am going to put it to you and to the people of this country that we are very serious about the future, the direction, and the development of our nation. The PAM-CCM government is very, very serious, and movement is very serious about that. And we will continue to rely on the issues and to concentrate on the issues. You would have asked the question in reference to the pollster. And you would agree that opinion is not facts. You would agree that it takes time to find ants' belly. You would agree that it's not all that glitter is gold. You would agree that he was wrong in calling Grenada, in calling St. Lucia. And also, he will be on the wrong side in terms of his opinion with St. Kitts and Nevis. Mark my word. Mark my word. I'm telling you. I want to say, let me just tell you, that there are serious and burning issues in our country that we have to tackle, we have to face, and the People's Action Movement will continue with our dialogue with the people, with the campaign, with the political meetings, and we will concentrate on dealing with the issues. Many, many, many issues facing our country: the economy, healthcare, jobs. The Basti High School, security, I mean, you name it. So we will not be concentrating on the nonsense and the foolishness. You would agree that there are some callers never used to call, but they've been assigned. They've been given their jobs to try to promote their political party. These things are not going to work. It's only a matter of less than 2 weeks before we have Freedom Day. It's only a matter of less than 2 weeks. So it don't matter how much they try, whether they use the national television station with the foolishness or whatever political meeting with the foolishness. Let me ask you a question. You listen to the Prime Minister on the political platform. Are you happy? Are you happy with the presentation by the present Prime Minister and his behavior? I will ask you this question as a citizen, as an individual. Are you happy with his presentations and his behavior on the political platform?
Well, what I want all of the candidates and people participating in the election to do is to focus solely on the issues. Focus on the issues that affect the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. To get personal, to get down there, to talk about people's family and all of that is absolutely uncalled for and unnecessary. So my response to your question would be for all the candidates, all the leaders of all the parties in St. Kitts and Nevis to focus on the issues and present the plans that can fix those issues.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I have to continue to give you credit, because I have followed you. You have come on the air, maybe because, I don't know, because of the pandemic, because I think you were in the tourism, and I don't know what is your goal in terms of the media, but you have done an excellent job, and based on your age and where you are today, based on where you started, I am very, very impressed. I don't know if you are hoping to take this as a career. Are you?
I am, yes.
Okay, and I will really want to wish you the best, because we want to use our best talent and skills and citizens where they can go out there, develop their craft, their trade, their professions. And really and truly, people should choose the profession that they love and love the profession that they choose.
All right.
Right? And that is very, very, because service, when it comes to serving your country, is not just a courtesy. Service is a commitment. Right? And I will tell you, good things come to those who wait. Better thing comes to those who are patient. And the best thing comes to those who do not give up. PAM and CCM will not give up. And I don't want you to give up on your goal and your dreams. I want you to concentrate to do what you have, what you are doing and what you intend to do, so you can come back and continue to use your training, your skills in the betterment of our dialogue in our country.
All right.
So I just want to say that the Prime Minister would have stated in his convention and calling people name of PAM supporters, he said came over. That is one of the serious undermining what this man was doing. Not was serious anything to do with unity, but was interested in seeing his own development. But these things are not going to work.
Well, caller, we are soon out of time, all right? So quickly wrap it up.
Okay, I just want to say that people leave political parties all over the world. So it is not in St. Kitts and Nevis. There are people I know have left the People's Labour Party and they are with our party. There are people who have left the Labour Party and they are with our party. And the same thing, there are people who have left our party and gone with other party. You don't expect to get the same people in the last election voting for all the parties in this upcoming election, where there was no PLP at the level in terms of all 8 candidates.
Well,
right? So it's going to be a different ball game in terms of the calling on this election day, which is a very important day, and August 5th. But I am looking forward for St. Kitts and Nevis to win. And this election, in a lot of sense, I can tell you, it's about conscience. Conscience.
All right. Well, caller, thank you. We have to take some more calls. All right.
Okay. Let me leave it there and give you the opportunity to continue.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. We'll take this short break to give a shout out to our sponsors. When we come back, we'll continue the program. Let's take this break, and we will be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
TDC Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services. We are strong. TDC Financial Services. This is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News right here on Win FM 98.9. Let's head back to the phone lines. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. It is 1:25, just 5 minutes left before we close off the program for today. We have a caller. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody out there in Radio Land, and good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius. How are you doing today on this wonderful Saturday?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for calling in. How are you doing today?
I, too, I am feeling very composed. I want to congratulate you, Mr. Cornelius, for your continuing professionalism, your objectivity, and your balance being at the wheel in these tumultuous times. Thanks and thanks again. Now, Mr. Cornelius, as you must be aware, ours is a universe that is both mystifying and intriguing in the extreme. Its size is incomprehensibly immense. And don't try to measure its vastness, please, because the Hubble telescope has already conclusively proved it is expanding. I don't know if you know that. At an unimaginable rate of speed. Now, we got about 100 billion stars in our own galaxy alone. We are quite tiny. 100 billion stars in our observable part of the universe alone. And check this. Each star is a sun with its own system of planets revolving around it. I can go on and on. But in the interest of time, somewhere in this complex web of infinitude, you'll find black holes and other similar phenomena that, no matter how hard we try, they hide secrets that we can't uncover. I say for now, 200 years, nobody thought that we could have even lifted up off of the ground. And now, you fly, we circumnavigate the globe, and we are on our way to becoming a multi-planet species. Maybe in the next 500 years, we will, given the rate of technology, because we know every 18 months, according to Moore's law, computer power doubles. In due time, I'm relatively sure that our vocabulary will change from universe, uni meaning one, to multiverse. Multi, of course, is self-explanatory.
All right.
Because a growing number of scientists have concluded that the concept is more likely than not. Think about another universe where you have another you in another dimension, another Devon Cornelius existing elsewhere, making choices that you don't have. And the hypothesis of a parallel universe is what I sometimes feel in closing when I hear some people talking.
All right. Well, caller,
we are not living. We are not living on the same planet.
All
What
right.
we have experienced now politically is so horrendous and it's so reprehensible that anybody who does not seek a change is a child of dysfunctionality. Man, when Jesus was leaving here, he knew what we needed more than we know what we need. And his last gift to us was, he said, my peace I leave with you.
All
My
right.
peace
We're out of time, all right? So we're going to have to end this program now.
and so we need change. Good afternoon, folks.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution to this program. It is 1:30 here in the studios of 1FM 98.9. Thank you so much for your contribution to the program. This has been another edition of Inside the News, only on 1FM 98.9. Today is Saturday, July 23rd, 2022, and I have been your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Until next time, you guys take care. Enjoy your weekend. Come on over to Nevis for some of the Culturama activities. Today, we have the aquatic sports extravaganza going on right now. Of course, tomorrow is the talented teen pageant. Come on, have a good time throughout this campaign season. Stay safe, enjoy yourselves, take care.